Hey everyone out there in Newegg land, Juan Carlos Bagnell here, sitting next to Ryan from Creative.
What's up, man? I'm not gonna leave you hanging.
No, thank you, I appreciate that. So legitimately, I want to just jump right in to a conversation talking about some new products, but you were responsible for some of my favorite conversations on Newegg Now.
Rockin'.
Where in the middle of a show, we would just nerd out on audio.
Yes, this can be dangerous. This format can be very dangerous for us.
We might end up with like a podcast and not a video, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But real quick, just for the audience, can you just walk us through what you do with Creative?
My technical title is Product Marketing Manager for the United States, but my role has evolved over the course of my time with Creative. So right now what I do is I handle the marketing activities or whatnot, but I also do a lot of the evangelism or technically speaking about the product and the technology, because I come from a background where I'm an absolute audio nerd, right? And I came to work for Creative because of Sound Blaster.
Right.
And then lately I've actually been doing a lot more of interfacing with our engineering team and kind of feet on the ground looking at what people want, you know, what's relevant, because audio right now is a hot growth area.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people are actually taking audio seriously now. It's very exciting for us because new competitors are popping up. We're seeing competition from other segments come in, and that's better for everybody, I think. When everybody is kind of pushing, we've just had mediocre audio for a really long time at the source level. So I think as the hardware develops and everything develops, we're listening very intently on what people want and what the desktops and what the mobile users and whatever that we're building for want, because it's an evolving space for sure.
So we're talking right here in front of us. We got the Super X-Fi.
This is the Air.
What is Creative accomplishing with this? What sets it apart from, say, another Bluetooth solution?
Okay, so to talk about this, we'll take a quick step back. So at CES, the device we were showing that was winning all these awards was our Super X-Fi amp. So it's a little tiny amp, looks like a stick of a pack of gum, really well built, really, really high quality amp. But that had our chipset inside of it, the Super X-Fi chipset that we developed specifically for this technology. And some of the limitations of deploying in that form factor are with Apple, you can't do any programming of it. You're locked out of the beautiful walled garden that way. You're limited to programming it specific ways. And you plug it into a computer, it works amazing. You plug it into an Android phone, it's gonna work amazing. But we know there's a massive number of iOS customers out there. So it's a little bit of a limitation. You can get a friend to help you with, and this all comes down to customization. But that technology we made to make it the kind of catch-all for plug it into your device and you'll get this experience. We knew that people were also not going to want to have a amp hanging off of their phone as well, especially with how fast people are adopting wireless audio.
Right.
And with true wireless and wireless headphones and that cord being cut, so to speak, and some devices don't even let you use a cord anymore. You don't have a plug to plug in. Yeah. So the Super X-Fi Airs, these were our solution to that. We put that chipset inside of the headphone. So the headset actually has that same chipset built into it. And we also could control the entire listening experience from amp and processing stage all the way through to delivery, because we know the acoustics of this headphone. So we can customize the outbound to make it sound as perfect as possible on these. And that was really what the goal was with the amp. We have customization for different headphones that are out there. A lot of the popular headphones you can go in there. But it's still, if you have a headphone that's not gonna be on that list, you're gonna have to go with the generic profile or something like that, right?
Yeah.
With this, you plug it in and you're gonna get something that's been tuned from top to bottom. Tailor fit, yeah, absolutely.
Headphone junkies are looking for 50 millimeter drivers. You were mentioning the microphone, but I really want to focus in first on holographic audio. So with these new audio standards that are coming out, location, we've got 360-degree video that's playing off of new location-based head tracking. Tell us about Creative solution and this phrase, holographic audio, as it sort of relates to this.
To talk about that, you have to talk about how audio is mastered today, right? So today we have virtual surround on headphones, and that virtual surround, you know you have headphones on, right? So you put on the headphones and the virtual surround is here and it's this close to your head. Now it sounds like stuff's coming from around this tiny little, sphere you have, but it's all very, very close to your head. And a lot of content has been mastered for that particular experience. When we were coming at it, our thought was, we don't want it to sound like it's coming from headphones. We want it to sound like it's coming from a room.
Right.
We want it to sound like it's coming from speakers that are out from you in space.
Well, and that's been the claim from some other competitors too.
Yeah. But in order to do that, you have to have a lot of things that happen along the way. So for example, you have to have a good room model. You have to have a model of an acoustically perfect room. So that's probably the easiest thing to get set up, right? Is getting that model and producing a sound system that is going to create this amazing effect. The biggest challenge has always been customization. We all hear audio differently.
Right.
These little tiny flaps here and there alter
have influence.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and that starts from the second the doctor claps his hands and we hear our first sound.
Right.
The second we hear that first sound, other than mom's womb or whatever, is our ears are training ourselves to hear in the real world because survival kicks in, man. Hearing is like you're blind when you're a baby and the only thing you got going for you maybe is hearing. You're not gonna be able to do much, but at least you'll know where it came from. And so when you try to create a generic profile for that, we lose a lot of those details that the uncanny valley effect, right? Where you can make this surround sound so good, but our body kind of rejects it and knows it's fake because it's not perfect for us. And so that was that second step, was we need to have a way to make a individualized, customized surround option, for each individual user. And so, we can do that through ear measurements, or we can do that through taking pictures of your face and your ears, like what we do in the app. And that will generate your customized profile for the audio. And then the next step after that is we had to make sure that all this technology was going to work together and that the chip was going to be able to take various sources and intelligently apply this science to those sources. Because if you try to apply this science generically to a source, and you have different audio streams coming in, you have content that's 5.1 or stereo mixed. One of the most biggest things that blew people's minds at the CES demo was we had a mono track of Billie Holiday, I believe, singing My Funny Valentine.
Nice.
Crappy, low quality YouTube mono track of her singing this, but it's still her, so it's still magical, right? Our chip is smart enough to analyze this and create the effect that you can take this mono track, and people were blown away. They thought for sure we were tricking them, and I say this with no bias at all. I experienced this myself. I said, there's no way we're doing this. There's no way. All of a sudden, from this mono track, you're sitting there, she's 5 feet away from you, the bass is right off to your left, the drums are to your right. It sounds like you're in a nightclub with her. And I'm going, how are we doing this? And it's the chip and our algorithm is able to listen to how all these sounds work with each other.
And then to position them
in space. And to position them in space accurately. It identifies that, okay, this is a bass, these are clearly different sources. And then now I'm gonna put them in this space. But it's not just that. That's where virtual surround ends, right? Virtual surround ends where you put these things virtually in space. And then you cram it all here, right? We actually take it the next step further where we're like, okay, now we're going to recreate it versus sounding like it's on headphones. It's going to sound like it's on speakers. So now you get this distance effect where all of a sudden it's not Billie Holiday right here in front of you singing or right here on your ears, but she's literally 5 feet away from you.
I don't know what's up with my ears, but a lot of virtual starts to halo.
Yes.
Where it's not right in front of me. No. It's like it feels like it's coming down on top of me.
And that's super common. Yeah. That's just because
it's my ears. And,
well, it's your ears, and it's the way that we're kind of ramrodded with surround, right? Yeah. And that center channel, virtual surround really pans between, on the 5.1 plane or 7.1 plane, it really pans between the left and right, and then that across through that center. That center is just always constantly drilling, down on you. So when you open up this world and you have a true audio above channels, 2 channels above you and below, you can really smooth that out. And now all of a sudden you're sitting in a room versus just having surround audio here. And that's been the dream, to recreate audio faithfully. And that's where the holographic comes from, because it's not virtual surround, it's in space.
Right.
It's an illusion, right? Like a holograph is, but it's in space. And you want to interact with it, even though your hand would wave through a hologram, it's really cool to see one floating in front of you, right? And so by us calling it headphone holography, we're really talking about us moving that sound from here out into space away from you, but then giving you all the positional on top of that as well.
A little more depth, a little more dimension.
Yeah, and we don't have to have head tracking or those other things, because it's all relative to where you are in the room still, right? So it's moving around. And it's a different approach. A lot of people are trying to take those, a lot of reasons why virtual surround fails is people will say, oh, we're just gonna put it in space, we're gonna add a reverb. And that'll make it sound bigger. And you move from here to maybe here.
But then you also get a lot of muddiness.
Yeah, it gets muddy and the soundstage sucks. And if you're a critical listener, that's not acceptable. Audiophiles are just gonna immediately reject that. So the real trick is, how do you take this customized audio with this algorithm that's crunching away an incredible amount of data, which is never going to equal what video is, right? But it's still for a massive amount of data for a specialized chip to be analyzing and chewing on. That's really where our strengths come together. So we were able to take these unique things, put it in with the secret sauce, and we've created something that really impressed a lot of people.
This feels like creative, not ignoring gamers, but it does feel like you're trying to reach a different demographic or a different consumer than some of the more traditional PC market consumers might be.
Mass market is where we see this. We see this for people, anybody that's consuming audio, whether it be music or movies. Gaming, there's a lot of tuning that needs to happen. The biggest reason why is because all of those audio cues. So for example, let me take a step back. If you were to play a game like Red Dead Redemption or any of these atmospheric games, Super X5 sounds mind-blowingly amazing. But if you were to go into a Counter-Strike, or you were to go into some of these other games where the audio cues are hyper overproduced because directional audio is so vital, Super X5 right now is going to recreate that in a way that's natural, but it doesn't sound natural because people have been trained to listen to it unnaturally, right? Yeah. So for us, we have a way that we're working on to get around that effect for people. So the competitive side of gaming, we have something coming for that. But if you're into cinematic gaming, I had to stop playing Resident Evil 2 with these because it was creeping me out.
Right.
I'm not kidding. Like I'm not a huge fan of jump scares, but Resident Evil 2.
RE2 has some great.
Oh my God. And you put these things on and you hear stuff shambling around and it literally sounds like it's in the room with you and you're looking over your shoulder. And I know it's not in the room with me, but my instinct is kicking in at a level that's like, no, something definitely moved behind me. And it's just something shambling over here or some fan or something that's on. That's where the magic happens. That's what gets me excited, is when you have that effect. So we're going for that across the board.
Increasingly, it looks like you're taking the data, you're taking the audio, and you're having to find these solutions to maximize the experience, to hyper-locate the experience, to broaden the experience. Is that something that you see evolving with some of these new conversations in audio? Do you think we'll get back to the old school DirectX model of sound at some point?
I think it's inevitable. I think there's so much attention now to this audio frontier and audio being an important part of media that there's a lot of opportunity here. So as that becomes more and more prevalent, and as audio starts to rise in what's gonna make content more exciting, you're going to see people that are authoring new ways for audio, right? So you're going to see those upper channels and lower channels become standardized. You're going to see a lot of different things for these atmospherics, I think, becoming more and more important to deliver that effect. Audio's been relegated somewhat in the back, like I mentioned earlier. It's been pushed back a little bit.
Or that we're still, I think, scaring some consumers with an audiophile style.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You go online to search for information, and it can be a little difficult.
Yes,
untangling.
And that's a hard thing. Working at Sound Blaster and creative is. You label something audiophile, and it immediately, some people have a knee-jerk reaction. I'm not an audiophile.
It shuts them down. Exactly.
And they go, whoa, I'm paying too much for this if it's audiophile, right? I mean, no, literally, that is. No, audiophiles are like, I'm not paying enough for this.
I have the same because I consider myself an audio practical snob.
Yes.
Not an audiophile. But again, I'm
the same way. Knowing the science behind audio and knowing how audio works from a level that's been told to me by people who have studied this for decades and are masters of this as a physical form, I can tell you, I am a practical audio snob. I will not, and as much as somebody wants to insist that this cable made from this rare mineral found in Uruguay or something is going to give me a delivery.
I just spent $60 on 16-core silver-plated headphone cables.
But that
was only $60.
Yeah, see, that's $60. That's not $6,000, right? And that's the difference. And at some point, the rubber hits the road, and at some point, it really becomes craftsmanship, right? You're paying for craftsmanship. You're paying for. This device looks amazing on my desktop. This device gives me joy when I look at it. I will keep this, right?
Doing a Marie Kondo.
Yeah. I mean, and that visual association is with the love of audio becomes like me. I was just saying, my turntable that I have a pair of SL 1200 techniques that were my DJ beatdown tables. Those things are worth so much money now, but I don't play on those anymore. I went out and bought a new turntable, and the aesthetic of the turntable makes me happy.
Yeah.
And because I can look at this turntable and I can listen to music and vinyl with my daughter, it's an experience for me, right?
It's not background noise.
No, it's not background noise, and it's an experience. And that's what we want to do. We want to deliver those experiences so that people who haven't heard good audio all of a sudden go, wow, this is really different. And even with our baseline stuff, we can deliver that experience. So our hope is that as more and more people are talking about audio, more and more people are going to go, I think I care about audio now. I think it's important.
Have you been finding that change over? Because I've still been facing a little bit of resistance where the fact that something sounds different often gets pushed to, well, that's wrong.
Yes.
Confusing familiar.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the sound of my audio on open earbuds and compressed Spotify streams and stuff like that. And then I'll play something and it doesn't sound right because it's not what they're familiar with.
Exactly. And that's the biggest challenge for anybody making audio now. So many of the younger generation right now, anybody, I would say 25 and younger, they pretty much grew up with really crappy earbuds as their audio replication source,
they came in the box.
No, I know, and that's what I'm saying. And so, mom and dad, when they buy the device and the headphones are already there, they're not going to go out and, hey, good, already taken care of. It takes having an experience, a good one, for people to go, oh, no, those suck. I want to hear it this way. Right. And there have been companies that have delivered that. We've been part of that with Bluetooth speakers and some of our earbuds and stuff, like lower end stuff that sounded much better. And people go, wow, this is so much better. I see that all the time when we go to trade shows and people hear audio from a motherboard audio versus one of our cards. Just that, no technology on at all. Just here's the motherboard audio, here's the card audio. A/B. Why does this sound so different?
I was just trying to explain like individual channel amps.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. I mean, and those are the things that there's such a lack of understanding of audio right now.
It sounds like magic sauce.
And it sounds like BS. A lot of it is like, it sounds like the same reaction we have when we talk about, $5,000 cables.
Yes.
It's like, no way. Like, come on, I hear this. And think about it, man. Lowest common denominator. Most people don't upgrade their stereo in their cars. Most people use their speakers built into their TVs. Most people use those earbuds that are in the box.
Yeah.
You're only going to hear audio as good as what you're hearing it through, right? Mm-hmm. So the goal is to deliver them experience even on that stuff that makes them want something even better, something even more.
So I want to come back to a couple features here because I had a couple questions about this headset in particular.
Yeah.
I thought it was as a curious adaptation, but was including an SD card slot on a pair of Bluetooth headphones.
Yeah.
But then I also wanted to ask you directly, was that sort of a reply to some of this Bluetooth advanced audio codec warring that's happening between aptX and LDAC and supporting different standards, and iPhones only support AAC. Was the SD card sort of a reply to that? Like,
so the SD card is, we at Creative always try to include every possible way you could use the headphone, right? So for us, in part, yes, it was. A lot of times you'll get people, I'm not going to use a wireless headphone, I'm a serious audiophile, or I'm really into this, and wireless turns them off completely, right? So by including the SD card, where you say, hey, you can have it natively right here.
And FLAC support.
There's an immediate appeal to that. And then you have that person suddenly goes, okay, well, I'll give this a try with Bluetooth, aptX, whatever it is, and they go, oh wow, this doesn't sound so bad. So it's kind of a, we give the user.
It's your Trojan horse.
Yeah, it's a Trojan horse.
The SD card is your Trojan horse.
Yeah, of course. Okay. And I mean, you think about it, but it also gives a benefit, right? So it gets people to use the product in the way they see it from one side and go, SD card, cool, I don't have to use my phone.
Right.
That's a convenient thing too. If you don't want to have to drive it, because you have the headphone controls on the headset and everything. So if you don't want to have your mobile with you and you just want to use this in the gym or whatever, and you don't have it hanging
over
out.
Bluetooth snobbery for the quality argument.
Yeah.
Like, it has gotten better.
Yes.
For me, it's the signal consistency issue, where if the phone's in my back pocket and I apparently my ass is a Faraday cage, and if I bend over to pick something up, like, it cuts out, and you're like, it's 3 feet.
Yeah, I know.
And I lose, it starts skipping on my podcast.
Yes. And then once it loses that signal, it's trying to catch up, and then the effect is gone at that point. And now you've had a bad experience. So when you take wireless out of the mix there, you have the card right there directly with FLAC, which is important to the people that are going to want to listen to the audio on a native device.
Yeah.
That's us thinking it through, and it's an awesome use case for that user. And now they just happen to have Bluetooth as well for convenience and programming. At that point, the Bluetooth can just become I want to program my profile onto this, or I want to tune my EQ or whatever it is to tell the headset this is what you're going to be doing now. You can do that through the app. So it becomes a communication device. Chances are, though, at some point you're going to break down and go, I'm going to listen to some music, I'm going to stream some, whatever via Bluetooth, right? But you have the option of the SD card.
Maybe. It hasn't happened to me yet.
Well, there you go, man. So the SD card is just for you.
You have a phone that still has a headphone jack on it?
Yes.
I have a phone that still has a headphone jack on it.
I will
scratching and clawing.
Yes, I will actively search for a phone that has, if whoever continues to make the headphone jack is going to have my business, period. That's just me.
Have to?
Yeah, I'm not hip to all the crazy wireless stuff that these kids are nowadays. Really convenient, it's awesome, but if I'm critically listening, I want the cable.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and this has also been, I think, another
Which you can use with this too, you can use it with the cable.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. But that's been another fun part of this conversation is it seems like consumers are getting a bit more acclimated to right tool, right job.
Yes.
Right? I'm starting to find a little bit of traction. While I still face resistance on like audiophile discussions or, that sounds different, that sounds weird, at least people are starting to acknowledge some tiny earbuds might be great for working out, but I don't want to fly across the Atlantic with that in my ears. I want something more comfortable, or I love these cans, but maybe that isn't the right fit for if I have to ride a bus.
Yeah, and you see that in like these pictures where this is my backpack and this is how I travel, right? Like
exactly.
And they open it up and you'll see a pair of cans, and then you'll see the true wireless or the wireless earbuds, and okay. In the plane, they're wearing these,
and then
outside and about, they're wearing these. It's a matter of convenience, and I think, that's also another good sign, because people are now getting the experience that they want based around where they are and what they're doing. So for us, we always try to kind of over-engineer, if you will. Like, that's something we're known for. When we launched our first Roar speaker, we had, the back of that thing looked like an airplane cockpit. There were so many buttons on the back. And we had an alarm in there for like if you were out in the woods and you happen, not kidding you, there's a siren mode in there that if you're out in the woods and lost, you could activate this thing and people could hear this siren out in the middle of nowhere. These are just things that we're like, hey, that would be cool to add in. Like, why wouldn't you do that if you have the ability to do it, right? So Sometimes though, less is more, you know. But I think when you're looking at like the Sexfi Air here, we wanted to be usable in any one of those situations, whether you want to use the SD card for the convenience of that and have FLAC files, whether you wanted to be streaming Bluetooth from your streaming app of choice, whether you wanted to plug it in wired to your jack on your device. It's going to be able to do. It's going to be that versatile tool that you can use in multiple places.
Again, a good practical solution to follow you. Real quick, just because I have this question in my notes here, and I did kind of want to know about this too. What is the general difference between some of these different product categories? You've got the Air, you've got the Air C.
Yeah. So the Air is designed to be the mobile accessory, right? So it's designed to work with your mobile devices and go with you, wirelessly on the road. The Air C is the cabled version. That's what the C stands for. So that is plug it into your PC, plug it into your laptop. It's your USB headset at that point. And that one is kind of the one that people are starting to use that more and more for gaming, for this atmospheric gaming, and they're starting to go like, wow, this is awesome. But then we'll get the message of, it's not so great when you're talking about, gunfire cues or whatever. But a lot of that, and this is one of the crazy things, and this is a challenge. A lot of that is, like you said earlier, we've been trained to hear audio a very specific way.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the...
Overcoming familiarity is a very difficult conversation.
But people are familiar with the theater sound. And that's why Super X-Fi has ability to penetrate, because people love that experience, right? So if we can deliver that over headphones and make it sound like you're sitting in a theater with your headphones on, and these become invisible, that's the headphone holography. That's the magic right there. The beauty of it, though, is when you have something as awesome as this technology that we're deploying in so many ways, once they hear it, they're not going to want to go back. Like, for me, listening to, I was just saying to you earlier, Random Access Memories, right? Daft Punk's is a masterpiece. I never want to hear that album anymore without Super X-Fi. I'm not kidding you. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, but hearing it with Super X-Fi on, I feel like I'm on stage with Niles. Right? So it's
the guitar work.
Oh man,
His
you just
little,
hear
glitch
every
funk guitar.
Oh, dude, it's
so
just
sharp.
And that is the other massive thing about separating everything out.
Yeah.
Is the audio has space. Everything is so hyper compressed now. When you let audio breathe and everything kind of has its own position in space, you hear things you've never heard before, and you start to experience the music. I really think the way that those people mastering these things, unless it's EDM, they're just going for bang for the buck. Where's the drop? And there's magic to that too. Totally. That's a different manipulation.
Well, to me, that's like a brute force. Like they're going to achieve that by putting you in a club.
Yes.
It's not mixed that way for you to listen to on headphones or on a car stereo.
No, and I mean, you listen.
It's built for a club.
Yes.
This did a very good job of sort of opening up things that contained studio releases. Yes. And then giving it a sense of putting those musicians in different positions around
in the world.
Yeah.
Virtual Surround is built for this experience, and we're built for the room. Right. We're built to we create a room, and then we put everybody in that room with you.
I feel like that's a good note to go out on.
Yeah,
Ryan, thank you so much
no problem,
for dropping by.
Absolutely.
We're gonna stop the recording on this, and then I think we're gonna talk for like another hour about my Sound Blaster experiences and how I plugged it into a phone. We'll have some links and more info on where you can look up the Super X-Fi Air and all of the creative lineup of products. You'll be able to dig up more information on that.
Yep.
For Newegg Studios, I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, and I'll catch you all on the next video.